Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
Once, when Jesus was praying in solitude, and the disciples were with him, he asked them, "Who do the crowds say that I am?" They said in reply, "John the Baptist." Then he said to them, "But who do you say that I am?" Peter said in reply, "The Christ of God." He rebuked them and directed them not to tell this to anyone. He said, "The Son of Man must suffer greatly and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised." Then he said to all, "If anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
In the Gospel, Jesus speaks to some of the basics of discipleship. That following him is not always easy. To be a disciple of Christ, it involves taking up your cross each day, something difficult, some kind of suffering that comes into your life each day. Following Christ is not always the easiest thing to do. And discipleship involves taking up your cross. There is some suffering involved. But at the end of today's gospel, maybe what's a little bit more fundamental and the real struggle in being a follower of Jesus is really more ego and pride. It's more the comfort of saving your own life versus losing it or spending it for the sake of Jesus. So it's really the struggle between of saving your own life, of being served, of living just for yourself, versus losing your life for the sake of Christ, spending it in service of others, thinking of others first instead of thinking of yourself. And that's the real basic struggle in being a disciple of Jesus. And of course, Christ gives us the best example of how to do that. He lays down his life for others. Jesus reassures us then that if you lose your life, either literally, like in martyrdom, or figuratively, by putting others first in your service of them, then you will save your life. And yet, the implication that Jesus has is not just saving your life at the end of time, not just saving your life in heaven, but actually saving it now. I think that means finding some kind of meaning and joy in life now. That's how you save your life now, when it's meaningful and when it's joyful. And that's a life lived in service of other people. In the Gospel of John, chapter 15, at the Last Supper, Jesus gives his final commandment to his disciples: "Love one another as I have loved you." And Jesus commands us to love one another. The reason he gives is so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete. So Jesus says, if you lay down your life for others, you're going to be joyful. And yet that's not usually how our thinking and our reasoning goes. Usually we think, if I get what I want, I'll be joyful. If I get my way, I'll be joyful. If people serve me and yield to me, then I'll be joyful. And yet reflect on some of the happiest and most joyful people you know. Right? Reflect on the ones that you like, people you like to be around, some of the most joyful people. So is that big ego or small ego in those people? Do they live to be served or to serve others? Are they humble or are they proud? And so you see that maybe some of the most joyful people in your own life are the ones who live their lives and spend it in service of others. And yet in a very real way, we still shy away from service, whether it's service of family, to our co-workers, to our relatives, to strangers, community service, ministry at church, whatever it might be. We often shy away from that. Rabindranath Tagore wrote, "I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy." It's a dream, it's an illusion that sitting around and doing nothing brings joy. It's an illusion to think that other people taking care of me brings me joy. Yes, we need to rest, we need vacation, sometimes we all work too much. But the reality is that life involves work, it involves service, it involves a lot of hard work. But in truth, serving others leads to joy. Those who are involved in ministry in churches, those who do community service, those who are involved in charitable organizations, those who donate their time in service of others, they almost always say, I got more out of it than I gave. I received more than I gave. And I'm sure many of you have felt the same way when you've donated your time to whatever kind of a charity or charitable organization or church. You get more out of it than you give. You know, for myself, it can be long days of office appointments, of maybe celebrating sacraments, and yet at the end of the day, it's often meaningful and joyful because of service towards other people. And again, I'm sure it's the same for you too. So for you, can you knowingly and willfully lose your life for the sake of Jesus so that you can save it? Can you spend your life in joyful and meaningful service of other people? Maybe first towards family. That's always where your service should begin, to the ones that you love the most and the ones that love you the most. It's household chores done well, even though we don't equate joy with doing laundry and washing dishes. And yet if the attitude is doing this of service to my family, maybe it changes a little bit the way that we look at it. Looking at getting things for other people, letting your siblings get their way, letting others go first. There are lots of little ways to serve your family. And it brings about a little more maybe joy and peace in the family life. Is there a way for you to serve others at work, even beyond just doing your job well? Can you serve the ones who are above you and the ones who are beneath you? Can you serve your co-workers in some ways, even though it's not about getting paid for it? And then is there a way for you to get involved outside of home and outside of work? Some church or charitable organization, something that doesn't benefit you immediately or your family, but benefits maybe strangers. There are lots of opportunities at the parish to get involved, lots of ways you can donate your time. And so in the end, as Jesus lays out the basics of discipleship, it's really not about our own comfort. It's not about saving our lives. It's not about being served. It's not about others doing things for us. Real discipleship is about laying down our lives for others. And in that, we find great joy and meaning in life. Whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, Jesus reminds us. But whoever loses his life for my sake will save it.